I wrote the funnest and funniest rom-com novel ever, and I want to tell you why it's awesome. Hi, how are you? So, this is the book that Drew Gooden talked about for 10 minutes in his video in February of 2024, Passion or Pancakes. And he went on and on in that in the video about how many names of characters I mentioned. There's 12 main characters, but those 12 main characters mention their friends and their friends of friends and their friends of friends. And I didn't realize until his video, and I was laughing so much at it, is that I had mentioned so many character names and I didn't even realize I literally mentioned like 50 to 100 character names in this novel. And I wasn't even aware of it. And man, Drew Gooden's video about this book was just so freaking funny. He's hilarious, and he said he read it twice in order to, get all the names. And the amount of time that he had to have spent reading the book and then making that video, I'm just astounded and very generous. And I just want to say thank you again, Drew, for spending the time with my book. And making that video. That really meant a lot to me. And I also want to thank Alec Bullock, who also did a YouTube video about me. He interviewed me in September of last year, and I really appreciate both Drew and Alec, taking the time to make those videos of me. And Alex is just brilliant. He made it sort of into a documentary. And anyway, thank you to Drew and thank you to Alec. So anyway, this book is about friends going bar hopping on a Saturday night, and they get into all these adventures and they go bar hopping to all these different bars, and they meet friends, and they start bar fights, and they do karaoke, and they run from the police, and they dance, and they embolden their friendships, and they fall in love, and all these things happen to them in the span of one night, which is basically just about 5 hours. And I love the idea of like the movie Die Hard or the movie Breakfast Club. It all takes place in one location and it's in real time almost. And I just love that idea of just meticulously going through step by step something that happens within a limited time and just milking every moment, and have these characters can go through these massive changes in their lives in just a few hours. And that's what I wanted to capture in this. I don't often talk about this book. And one of the reasons I don't is because I don't want to sound like, oh, Nathan, the only reason you're doing social media is because you want to talk about your book and sell books and la la la. I would be doing social media even if I hadn't written a book. And I totally understand that point of view also. But I have not sold a lot of books. And I do want to promote it. And the thing that I don't do very well is promote this book. So I'm going to do that now. Gosh darn it. I'm not going to be humble. I'm going to tell you how great it is. And if you're looking for a great Christmas gift, I think this is it. If you know someone who reads a book, if you know someone who likes to read books and have a good time with rom-coms and likes funny books and fun books, then this is a fantastic book, Passion or Pancakes. I'm going to promote it. I'm going to not be humble. I'm just going to say, sorry, I have a really hard time with this promoting because it just feels so pushy, and I don't like that at all. I just like sharing my humor. But I need to do promotion if I want to, be an author. So it's available on Amazon. The paperback is, so is the ebook. The audiobook is on Audible. The audiobook is one of the funnest audiobooks you will ever listen to, I think, in my opinion. It's just, the narrator I got to do my audiobook is Sarah Fargo, and she is absolutely brilliant. She's a friend of mine. She's in theater, and she's an actress, and she reads the narration of the audiobook just so brilliantly and naturally. You listen to some audiobooks, and it's like, the person did this, and then they did this, and then they did that. I understand, and I'm not putting down people who do audiobooks. I just wanted mine to sound really natural, like you're eavesdropping on real people and their conversations. I didn't want it to sound like a 19 radio show where each character has a different voice, but she was able to talk in the style of each character's way it was talking. And she did it so brilliantly that there was a scene in chapter 10, I think, where the characters are briefly stuck in an elevator for a few pages. And in the audiobook, I don't say which character is talking. In the book, it's noted. But in the audiobook, she just talks as the characters, line after line after line, so I can keep the comic timing going. And you can just tell by the style in which she talks which character is speaking. And anyway, I just think you would really like the audiobook. She sounds so natural, and it's funny, and her comic timing is great. Anyway, I just really want to plug the audiobook, Passion or Pancakes. It's on Audible, and I truly think it's one of the funnest audiobooks ever. And if you know someone who, likes audiobooks, I think it would make a great Christmas gift. There, I've done my promotion. I've plugged my book. Passion or Pancakes. Anyway, I want to spend this video just talking about it because I never talk about this book because I don't want to sound pushy. And the other thing is I don't want to sound full of myself. And another reason is sometimes it's boring to listen to an author talk about their book if you have not read it. And so I'm going to try to make this as exciting as possible because I think this is a fantastic book. I tried to write one of the funnest books and fill it with a variety of fun characters who have heart but are also really great comic timing. I tried to make the dialogue as good as Gilmore Girls and Sex and the City, just snappy, witty dialogue. One of my favorite writers is Eric Sorkin. So when I read books, I don't see a lot of snappy dialogue. Sometimes the dialogue's good, but this is almost a play. There's so much dialogue. It's just, there's jokes on every single page, or at least humorous lines. And that was my goal, is to just not have you be bored. The worst thing you can do as an author, in my opinion, is be boring. So I tried to keep the plot pace going and have the characters just banter and the witty one-liners, almost like a sitcom where, every 20 seconds there's a new joke. And I really tried to, I just tried to write the funnest novel ever. And gosh darn it, I did better than I thought I did. And I'm not full of myself. I'm just so freaking surprised and proud of how well I wrote this book. And anyway, I'm just really proud of it. And so anyway, I'm going to ramble about this book for a little bit. What this book is a prequel to a series of about 5 or 6 novels that I'm going to write. Now, when I talked to Alec Bullock in September of last year, I said, it was right before Christmas, and I said, oh yeah, I'll hopefully finish my next novel before Christmas. Well, here it is a year later, and I still have not published the next book. It is finished. I finished writing it in August. I have finally found a fantastic book cover maker who will literally draw the book and create it from scratch and then design the book cover for me. And so, and then I have to have it typeset, and then I can self-publish it on Amazon about Valentine's Day. So that's when it's going to come out. And I swear it's coming. It is finished. And what this is it's a 5 or 6 novels of each character. So what I wanted to do, so this whole thing is, in 2013 of December, I came up with an idea for a novel. And I spent 8 years writing that novel. And it was a rom-com novel about the character of Bren, who's in this book. And she falls in love, and then I was going to have the next book be about Calli, her friend, and then her other friend, Chris, is the next book, and then the next book is Holly. But then I got done writing Brenda's romance book, and then I thought, I should actually write a prequel to all of this. I'll just spend a few months writing a really short novella prequel about all the characters, so you get to know them and how they met and stuff like that. And that turned out to be this book, Passion or Pancakes, which actually took me 5 years to write because I kept, maybe I should do this, and I could add this and that. I kept realizing what it should be, because when you write a novel, you get halfway into it and then you realize what the novel should actually be, and the novel starts talking to you. It's kind of strange. It's like, okay, I'm going to write the novel, I'm going to outline it, I'm going to do that, and you begin writing, you get halfway into the process, and then the novel starts telling you what it actually needs to be, and then you realize, it's very strange. Halfway through, you realize the novel starts talking to you, or at least, not literally, but telling you what it wants to be, what it should be. And so once you realize that, it takes you much longer than you thought. Whatever you think it's going to be, you're going to write a novel in a year, it's going to take you 3 times as long. It's going to take you 3 years. This is what I've learned about self-publishing and writing novels, is that it's going to take you 3 times longer to do what you thought. It's going to take you 3 times longer to do the rewrite and after you get it back from the editor. It's going to take you 3 times longer to do the book cover, to get someone, to find someone. I found my book cover and my typesetter from Reedsy, Reedsy. Reedsy. It's a great site. I'm not promoting it or anything. I have no association with them. I'm just saying, if you want a great resource to find editors and typesetters and book cover designers and illustrators, Reedsy. I go there and they'll help you facilitate between these amazing artists who can help you. And so that's why I got my editor, because I saw her on YouTube. I just typed editors onto YouTube and one of her videos came up. And so that's how I found my editor, and she's been great. So it's the process of finding people. It's the process of learning how to self-publish, and I'm just flabbergasted that I actually did it. I'm flabbergasted and proud of myself that I wrote a novel to completion, actually finished it, and then rewrote it, and then rewrote it, and then rewrote it again, and then finally self-published it, found the book cover and the typesetter and the editor, and did all those things, and then actually self-published it. And I'm just amazed that I actually did it. And so, okay, I set this novel in San Francisco. I lived in San Francisco for 12 years. I lived in the Marina for 2 years. Well, I lived in Cow Hollow, officially. Cow Hollow is right next to the Marina, and they're both very upscale, awesome, party-tastic neighborhoods with lots of trendy bars and just all kinds of fun and great venues. And I mean, on Friday and Saturday nights, the place is just hopping. And I wanted to capture that funness that I had living in the Marina and share it with people. And so I wanted to write really fun characters and have them do fun things, and the dialogue to be fun, and they go on this adventure bar hopping on a Saturday night. And so it's kind of a time capsule. You get to experience that night and what it's like in that neighborhood on a weekend night. And also, I set it in 2013. And the reason I did that, one, is because in the next novel, I wanted Friday to end up on a Friday the 13th, and that happens in 2014, so it takes place a year later, which means this novel had to take place a year before that in 2013, so that kind of sets that. But also, I set it because I moved away from San Francisco in 2008, and when I moved away, I moved back up to Portland, and then I kept coming back to San Francisco every year for the Union Street Festival. One, because I just wanted to revisit the neighborhood because I missed it, and also to see what had changed. And man, it was great going to the Union Street Festival. It was fun, and also I was writing this novel, so I wanted to get back into the spirit of that neighborhood. In 2013, I mean, it's like Mardi Gras. The streets are packed with people for the Union Street Festival. I mean, just people flowing out of the bars. I mean, so much that someone have to have like security guard door guys outside the bars because there's so many people, and you're shoulder to shoulder with people and walking through the festival. I mean, it's just a scene. It was just astonishing how cool it was. And then I came back the next year in 2014, and it was like half the people. It's like, I don't know what happened. Where did everybody go? Did people move away? And some of the businesses that I had known were closing, the bars, the venues. And there was a huge change between 2013 and 2014 in the Cow Hollow Marina area. And I sort of wanted to capture, and it really gave me an incentive to capture this as a time capsule. And I liken it to, George Lucas did a movie called American Graffiti. And that's kind of a time capsule too, where his characters also, it takes place in real time on a Saturday or weekend night, all in one night. And what it was is he captured a moment of time of hot rods and what was it like? I think it took place in 1968 or something like that. And he captured that moment of time because it's not like that anymore. And I sort of wanted my novel to do the same. Now, neighborhood has come back and it's changed. And I guess one of the reasons I thought it was because they raised all the rent and nobody could afford it, so they all moved away. But I've read articles, I don't know the real reason, but I've read articles that the city was making the businesses upscale their buildings for earthquake readiness. And that was going to cost a lot of money and they couldn't afford it. And so they had to change prices or something like that. Anyway, that may have been the reason. I don't know. If you know the reason, by all means, leave it in the comments. But the neighborhood changed. And so that really gave me an incentive I mean, the Union Street Festival is still fun and it's coming back, and I kept going back. Last time I was there was 2018. And the Union Festival, it's never quite what it was back in 2006 or 2013. But it's still a very cool festival, and it's come back a lot. So I highly recommend go to the Union Street Festival if you can. So I spent 5 years writing this novel, and I spent 8 years writing Brenda's novel, which is going to come after this. So I wrote Brenda's novel first. So I wrote the second book first, and then I wrote the first book and published this, and then I'm going to publish the second book. And one of the reasons it took me so long is since my interview with Alec, is I had to rewrite everything. I went back to it and I thought it was done. And it was like, no, I have to rewrite all this. Because one, since I wrote this book, I changed a lot of stuff, so I had to go back and change that. And also the writing wasn't that great, so I had to improve it. And I'm very proud of how the writing is now for Brenda's book, which again is going to come out around Valentine's Day. And so, I've put in 12 years of work for 2 books, and I hope to next year finish Calli's novel and publish it, and finish Krista's novel and publish it. So I'm hopefully going to publish 3 books next year, and then Holly's novel in 2027, and then a side novel also adjacent to this series also in 2027. So I have a lot of writing to do, which is sometimes difficult because I'm also doing some social media, which I love. So I'm trying to do, Instagram and YouTube, and I want to start my Patreon, and I'm also writing, and then there's also this other thing called life. And I'm trying to do all this at the same time. And I'm not a good multitasker, and so I try to get all these things done. So, if I'm replaying some of my old videos on Instagram rather than some new ones, you'll understand why. It's because I'm spending time writing, but I'll continue to do new videos. Anyway, I'm just rambling about stuff. Let me tell you about the characters. Okay, so Brenda is a very smart, kind person. She's very organized. She works downtown at she's a manager of a company that does conferences and plans conferences. I thought it was a perfect thing for her to do. She was so organized, and she lives in an apartment on Union Street in Cow Hollow with her roommate Krista, who is the opposite of that. So it's a real odd couple pairing of, which is great in comedy. Krista is messy. She uncensors herself. She says whatever she wants. Brenda is always very precise. She's well read. That's her thing, is she loves books, and she's read every book ever. And so, the banter between Krista being outrageous and Brenda, being a little bit more precise about things, and just that dichotomy, man, it's just great fun to write those 2 characters and how they spar, but they love each other so much, and their friendship. And when you find them in this book, they are celebrating their 7th anniversary as roommates, and but neither one of them have found a permanent boyfriend, and they're both single, and so they have the potential to find love. So they go out and they meet people, and Krista falls in love with the love of her life, and it bounces back and forth chapter to chapter between Krista's point of view and Mark's point of view. And so I'll write a 10-page chapter with Krista's point of view and what she's going through, and then 10 pages with Mark, and then they go back and forth. So it creates this suspense of when are they going to meet, and what will that be like when they finally do, and how will the book change, and so they finally meet. And then I have to change their points of view within each chapter. And originally I had tried to have the novel written from all the characters' points of view. And my editor said, okay, let's simplify it. Excuse me. I'm sorry. Let's simplify it and let's just have two characters' points of view. And she saved me. That was brilliant advice. So it made it easier to write, and I'm sure it's much easier to read, just to have 2 points of view. So you get her point of view, you get Krista's point of view, and you also get Mark's point of view on, what's happening throughout the night and what's happening in their banter. And, the thing about this novel, and I'll talk about the other 2 characters in a second, it's about change. They're all going through change. That's the main theme, is each of these characters going through change, and it's a topic that fascinates me, and the neighborhood is changing, and some of the venues are staying and some are going away, and the characters are all getting closer to 30 years old, and that's a big change, and their friendships are changing, and their friends are moving away, and the neighborhood's changing, and they're going through all these changes. And Krista, the main thing with her issue of changes, she freaks out because she suddenly realizes when she meets Mark, he's the love of her life. And she realizes, okay, this is the man I'm going to marry. But her immediate thought is, that's the end of my single life. I love going to bars. I love partying. She's 28, but she, acts like she's 22. And so it's a huge moment of revelation for her to, oh my gosh, my whole life is going to change and I'm not sure I'm ready for it. And so that becomes the big issue of the novel, is when is, because, oh God, I could talk about this forever. I won't. I'll have other videos while I talk about this. But, I don't like having villains in the novel. It almost seems too easy. It's more interesting to have a bunch of characters with different points of view who have conflict with, dealing with their different points of view. That interests me a lot. And so there's no big villain. It's just the main conflict is Krista has to decide if she can handle the love of her life showing up at a time where she's not ready for it. And so, but in the course of, a few hours, she, just do this within a few hours. She has all these revelations. She sort of gets comfortable with it. And then in the next novel, you see how it's progressed over the following year. But so that's in a nutshell the dilemma, and the comedy, great sources of comedy to how am I going to deal with this? I don't know what the love of my life suddenly showed up. What do I do? And the banter between them, I think, is really good. The other 2 characters are Calli and Holly, and they're Krista and Brenda's friends. And Calli is one of the funnest characters I've ever written, because there's that sort of dim-witted or kind of clueless character trope in groups. You see it in Friends, like Joey. You see it in Golden Girls, like Betty White's character. You see it on 2.5 Men, where the kid is not all that bright. And so I included that dynamic with in the friend group of Bren, Krista, Calli, and Holly, where she's not dim-witted. She's just not worldly, and her parents really did a number on her, trying to be overprotective, and not. She lived in a small town called Licking, Missouri, which is a real town, and I had so much fun making puns about that town of Licking, and she was very sheltered, and her parents wanted to protect her from this the world and all its pain and suffering. And so they just kept her in the dark about things. She doesn't even know what the internet is. She barely knows that. And so she's suddenly in San Francisco, getting away from the Midwest, and she's learning all these things all of a sudden. And over the next year, she learns all kinds of things that I can have her say the most crazy, fun stuff. I mean, she says stuff like, what does she say? My sisters and I used to play hide the salami. They'd hide a salami in the barn and I had to find it. And then Holly says to her, are you an Aries? No, I'm a Licker. You're what? I'm from Licking, Missouri. Oh, I pictured a whole other thing. And I can, play with that. And her family has an ice cream shop in Licking, Missouri, but they also do this side hustle where they have a haunted apple orchard, and Calli grew up making noises behind trees for the people who would pay to come to the haunted apple orchard. And I can have her just say the craziest stuff and have all the other characters say, what are you talking about? Especially Holly, who's the other character. She has lived in San Francisco her whole life. And she's the queen of the marina, basically. And she's, she lives in a very tall apartment in the center of Chestnut Street, which is the center of the marina. And, she knows everybody. She throws these big Gatsby-like parties on her roof of her apartment, including all the who's who of the marina. And she's not stuck up. She's just really insecure, and she's a really nice person. But she knows all the gossip of everybody. And she's just very concerned about what people think of her and her reputation, because her parents really did a number on her of, you've got to be prim and proper, and you've got to not do these certain things, and appearances are everything. And so that's what she grew up with. And she learns over the course of the evening to let go of some of that uptightness and her fears and let loose. And here's Calli, who ends up living with her as a roommate. Another odd couple where Calli's just, and Holly's like, no, hang on, we have to do things appropriately. And that dynamic is just really fun to write. And so those are my characters. And then, Mark has his friend Chet, he says outrageous things and it's really fun to write for. And then he made Skip and all these other characters. So there's 12 main characters in this novel. And 50 other characters that they mention. And there's one other thing I wanted to mention, is that in chapter 8 of Passion or Pancakes, it's set in the Silver Cloud bar or restaurant bar, karaoke bar. There's karaoke there. And it's a real place. And I wanted to include a real place. I have a lot of, fictitious places that I mention. I mention a lot of other bars, randomly that they pass by. But I really wanted to set one of the chapters in a real place. And Silver Cloud was so nice to let me set most of chapter 8 in their karaoke bar restaurant. And I love when you see a cool place in a movie and then you can actually go to that location and you go to that restaurant. And that's what I wanted to have happened here, is that, you could go to the Silver Cloud karaoke bar and you could feel the vibe that my characters felt, the fun of the karaoke and just kind of like sit in there and like, okay, this happened. Well, it didn't happen. It's fictitious what my characters went through, and my characters are all fictitious because I don't write about real people. I only write about fictitious people because that's what I'm comfortable with. But I mean, it was really nice of them to let me set a chapter in their establishment. And I really appreciate that, and thank you so much to Silver Cloud. Anyway, I think this novel is really fun. I tried to write the funnest, funniest, wittiest novel ever written, and like I said, the audiobook, Sarah does such a good job with the narration, and it's just such a fun listen. I mean, it's ear candy. And if you know anyone who likes audiobooks or books or having fun, then I really hope you'll consider reading or listening to Passion or Pancakes. I'm so proud of accomplishing with this, and almost astounded that it came out better than I intended. So I'm going to go back to being humble, but I just wanted to share with you this time for not being humble and just sort of promoting my book. Anyway, thank you again to Drew Gooden and to Alec Bullock for making videos about me, and I really appreciate it. Drew, you can find him on YouTube. He's fantastic and really funny, and his videos are awesome. Alec Bullock, you can find him on YouTube. You can also find him on Spotify. He's a really talented musician and with some great music. And thank you to Silver Cloud. Thank you to Sarah Fargo. Thank you to my editors. Thank you to my book designer. Thank you to Reedsy. Thank you so many people. Thank you, San Francisco. Thank you, Marina. Thank you, Cow Hollow. And thank you, Life. And thank you for watching, for reading my work, for appreciating my silly thoughts on Instagram and here. And this is just, I never know what life is gonna gonna happen next, and you just follow your passions, and you never know where they're gonna lead, and you just have fun with that. You just kind of go with what you feel like doing next, and it can take you to all kinds of magical places that you never expected. So anyway, thank you for watching this video, and I will see you next week. We'll talk about something more fun. I don't know what, but anyway, this would make a great Christmas gift. Shameless plug and promotion. Passionate Pancakes, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I wish you wonderful things. Have a great week.